Hello everyone, my name is Andrea Gibson and I graduated from Calais High School in 1993. It was the schools in Calais that first nurtured my love of art and writing, and I've made my living as a poet for the last 2 decades. I've traveled all over the world sharing my art. My poetry has taken me everywhere from Berlin to Paris to the White House. Every artistic dream I have ever had has come true, and none of that compares to this moment for me. This has for years been on the very, very top of my bucket list, to say thank you to this school and community for the ways it empowered me as an artist and a human being, while cheering on and rooting for the young people embarking on a new journey. To everyone graduating today, this moment means you have been cast to the lead in your own life. You are now the producer, the director, and the star of your show. That is thrilling for you and utterly terrifying for your parents, though you too may be a bit scared. I remember almost dropping my diploma because my hands would not stop shaking. But what I wasn't aware of at the time was the countless ways that this community had fostered in me the compassion, the strength, and the resilience I would need to thrive in whatever I chose to do. I visited Calais exactly a year ago. I didn't know why, but I woke up one morning with a strong desire to come home. I drove all the way from Colorado to the Calais post office, where my father had worked, where my mother used to bring me as a baby to weigh me on the postal scales, to the elementary school where a pencil first calloused my finger, and I was certain my hand was changing shape to prove that I was a writer, to WQDY, where at 10 years old I would send tapes of myself singing really, really off key and could never understand that why they refused to play them on the radio, to the Calais High School gym where my basketball team brought home the very first gold ball. Exactly a year ago, I sat next to the Blue Devils in the parking lot sign while my mother took my photo. There are ways we never grow up, and thank goodness for that. What I didn't know when I visited last year was that I had cancer that wouldn't be diagnosed until 2 weeks later when I got back to Colorado. The instant I got my diagnosis, I understood why I'd been so driven to return. When you encounter challenges in your life, it's very likely you too will want to come home to the people who knew your grandparents by their first names, who were there when you buried your family pet, when you hit your first home run, people who rooted for you, even when you struggled to root for yourself. I should say, I feel great today. I finished chemo, and the only reason I'm not with you in person is because my immune system is still recovering and it's not yet safe for me to travel. When I was 18, I left Calais because I wanted to see the world, but it would take me a lot of years to learn that what makes this world extraordinary has very little to do with what we see as compared to how we choose to see it. For example, we are taught there are 7 wonders of the world. That's absolutely not true. There are 7 billion wonders in Calais alone. I would have argued with that as a teenager, but trust me, there is not just beauty in Calais. There are miracles there too. Not only can you walk on water, it gets so cold you can drive a snowmobile across it. It does not matter at all if you choose to build your life in Calais, Maine or Calais, France. What matters is how you choose to see things. There is a lot we don't have control over in this life. I've been told the only thing we have control over is where we put our attention. That has always been what I've done as an artist. Put my attention on what is gorgeous, what wows me. But it wasn't until this year that I really learned how to do that in my day-to-day life. Now, I choose to be amazed by this world. I choose to put my attention on what is astonishing, because doing so makes every other part of my life better. It's like vitamins for the spirit. And the cool thing is, I never have to look hard to be awestruck. The simple facts of this universe are enough. Do you know it rains diamonds on Jupiter? Do you know blood donors in Sweden receive a thank you message when their blood is used? Do you know sea otters hold hands when they sleep so they don't drift apart? Do you know whales will follow their injured friends to shore, often taking their own lives so to not let their loved ones be alone when they die? In my early 20s, I read a fact that changed the course of my life forever. When 2 violins are placed in a room, if a chord on one violin is struck, the other violin will sound that same note without even being touched. For the last 2 decades, that has been my definition of hope, because we too are that powerful. Every single one of us is that powerful. You can sound the music and the people around you simply by playing your own strings. You being a light in this world will help everyone you encounter shine. When I graduated from high school, I wanted to be a light in the world. That was all I knew, but I didn't know much more. I remember sitting with my guidance counselor thinking I was the only one who had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Everyone but me seemed to know. If no one has told you this yet, you do not need to know what you want to do for the rest of your life right now. Take that pressure off yourself, because it does not matter what you do nearly as much as it matters how you do it. Most of my adult life has been devoted to social justice. When I was younger, I thought there were only a few ways to do that. I was wrong. I have friends who are convenience store workers who I know to be making this world a better place every single day because they want to make somebody's life better. I'm talking about people who ask you how you are and truly care to know the answer. Callus is full of people like that. So when you're asked what you want to be, you don't have to say a teacher or a farmer or an EMT. You can say you're going to be generous, kind, adventurous, supportive. You can say you're going to be someone who shows up to your friends when they're struggling. You're going to be there for your siblings and your parents and your community. That's the kind of doing that really matters in this life. And most of us figure that out decades after we would have liked to. Something else you can do right now. You can decide to be someone who is committed to letting the challenges in your life make you better. I'll tell you right now, the challenges, they're never going to stop coming your way. That's how life works. We don't want it to work like that, but that's how life works. When hard things happen in my life now, I recognize immediately I have two options. I can let the challenge make me a better person or a worse one. I can let it open my heart or close it. You can decide right now to let the challenges in your life open your heart further. I'll give you an example. When I was going through chemotherapy, I lost all the hair in my head and I looked like a tiny Mr. Clean. And when I started to lose my eyelashes, I could tell it had the capacity to depress me because I'll be real, y'all, I had some good looking eyelashes. But I remembered all I have control over is where I put my attention. So I focused my attention on gratitude. And the instant I did, my first thought was this: the average person has 400 eyelashes. I'm going to lose all of mine. That is 400 wishes I would not have had the chance to make otherwise. If you gift yourself that kind of perspective on your life, it will be the best graduation present you could ever receive. Every one of us deserves to get as much joy out of this brief life as possible. And true joy, it does not come from what happens or doesn't happen to us. It comes from committing to relating with grace to whatever challenges arise in our lives. And regardless of what comes or goes, whatever leaves or finds you, one thing is certain: you will always have you. And never, ever underestimate how much that is to have. Be on your side. Root for yourself. Know that you are the best thing that has ever happened to you. Whoever you are. You're a quitter? Great. There is plenty worth quitting. A sore loser? Who isn't? I have friends and family in that audience right now who can attest I have personally thrown 700 tantrums in the Callus gym alone. You are the best thing that has ever happened to you. Know that, so you can honor both who you are and who you hope to become. Becoming is one of the most extraordinary aspects of life. Everyone loves butterflies. But I have always trusted the caterpillars more. I trust the ones who know they are not done growing. If I meet someone who thinks they're done growing, I run in the opposite direction as fast as I can. And that's not to say growing is a piece of cake. Do you know when a caterpillar is in the process of becoming a butterfly, it turns completely liquid in the chrysalis? I used to think they were more like transformers, just changing shape, but no, they turn completely liquid. I think about that every time a challenge in my life is so hard it brings me to tears. I call every single tear a chrysalis necessary for my evolution as a person. My partner Meg had a friend who lived to be 99 years old and was still wildly excited about all he was learning. He was a fighter pilot in World War II, and late into his 90s, he was educating himself about race issues in the US, about women's rights. He was still thrilled to be learning and learning at 99 years old. Your life will be extraordinary if you choose to live like that. if you get excited about having a mind that can be changed, have a heart like a parachute that knows how vital it is to open in time. I used to be so invested in being right. I'm a good talker and could win most of my arguments, but I now find rightness stifling, even boring, because the more I'm certain I'm right about something, the less I listen to others, and the less I listen, the less I learn. Instead of getting insecure, get excited about what you don't know. I think I don't know is one of the most beautiful, honest, and generous things anyone could ever say. I believe that sentiment alone could change the world. The more people who are willing to say they don't know what the answer is, the quicker we will find the answers to making this planet a kinder place. It takes courage to be courageous. It takes so much more courage to be full of wonder than to be full of answers. And courage, it's not about not being afraid. Courage, I know, is about being terrified and doing something anyway. An example from my own life. I have never known anyone who is more afraid of public speaking than I am. It's so intense that I was in love with writing in college and almost changed my major countless times because I knew to graduate with a degree in English, I would have to read 3 poems out loud to my class my senior year. That's it, 3 poems standing in front of 23 other students. The thought of it gave me insomnia for 4 solid years. And yet since that day, since the day I read those poems, I have not stopped doing it, though it has never stopped terrifying me. When you think about what you want to do with your life, do not rule out what scares you. If something scares you, that may be exactly what you are being called to do. If you're terrified of bees, consider the possibility that you may be happiest making your living as a beekeeper. The more I do what scares me, the happier I am. Quiet every story in your head that tells you you aren't strong enough or good enough for your dreams. Speak to yourself with tenderness through every step. Often I'll imagine what the flower wanted to say to the first human trying to name half its petals love me nots. No, that is not how anything grows. This world needs us to keep growing. Loving who you are will make it possible for you to change the parts of yourself you hope to change. It will make it easier. I know that's counterintuitive, but it will make it easier. Now, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that you're graduating a time in our country when our country is very divided. Some of my closest high school friends have vastly different political worldviews than I do. I see their social media statuses and I think, I cannot believe you think that. They see mine and they think, I cannot believe you think that. What's fascinating to me is I know these people and I know we share similar values. So what does that mean? What does it mean to share similar values with people who don't share my politics? That is much of what I'm interested in exploring in my life moving forward. And I encourage you to be interested in exploring that as well. Because the divides we are seeing are dangerous and the conversations needed to heal them are not yet happening. I see this as both a burden and an opportunity for your generation. I believe you will be who teaches us how to have conversations with the kind of respect and consideration that will help us move more quickly into a more loving and compassionate time. About a decade ago, I had a poetry reading. My girlfriend at the time's parents asked if they could come to the show. We were both shocked as her parents had really struggled with homophobia over the years, and I had expected to maybe never meet them. But they came to the show, and when I took the stage, her father was the first person I spotted. He was impossible to miss. A towering lumberjack of a man in a sea of punk rock kids with blue hair. I spent the whole set talking about love, how everything but I love you is small talk. I thought for sure he hated the show until afterwards he burst into the green room, his head nearly axing a hole through the ceiling, tears like a giant's tears covering his face. He said, I'm 76 years old and I just tonight figured out what love is. That was just from 1 hour of listening. 1 hour. That's how transformative listening is. And listening didn't only make his daughter's life better, it made his life better too. Because every time we welcome the truth of another's heart into our lives, our own hearts grow bigger. This year has been full of such moments for me. I have learned so much. I have not stopped learning. It feels as if every day my heart is opening wider. And because of that, it has been one of the happiest years of my life. It's been a challenge to explain to people, because who has one of the happiest years of their life during a cancer diagnosis? I have. I really had no idea how much would change inside of me when all that mattered became all that mattered. It's an amazing moment when you wake up to what really matters in this life, and this community matters to me. Whether you leave town or stay, I encourage you to keep thinking like a Mainer. Be a lighthouse, lighting the way for yourself and others to move in the direction of a brighter future for all. No matter how big the waves get, they will never be bigger than you. You will always be mightier than the storm. Know that so you can dream big, so you can understand the difference between tying your laces and tuning the string section of your shoes. Make a symphony of walking in the direction of everything that is rooting for your life to sing. When challenges arise, know you are not weak just because your heart feels heavy. Welcome your chrysalis tears and watch how quickly you fly when you do. And keep this as a goal. Say at the end of your life, you want your heart to be covered in stretch marks from growing, from learning, from listening, from loving. To the teachers and staff and students who invited me to this bucket list moment in my life, thank you. It's an enormous gift to be asked. My entire local community cried with me, knowing how happy I was to receive the invite. I hope you all have a wonderful ceremony. Enjoy yourselves and each other. You will never forget this moment, and neither will I.